Those of you joining us for the very first time, I welcome you. And for those that are joining us on a regular occasion, I welcome you back. So this evening we are here to talk about all of your frequently asked questions. But before we begin, I'll just run through how the session sort of happens. So for the next half an hour, I will be on screen in front of the camera answering all of your questions. And it's a great opportunity if you have any questions regarding colour, or if you're embarking on a project and you'd like to know some information, or if you would like to know about our wonderful portfolio of products that we have designed to protect and beautify your space, you are at the right place. So as I said, for half an hour I'll be in front of the camera. Use it as an opportunity to upload any questions that you do have into our feed, and I'll certainly do my best to answer them for you. And then once that half an hour concludes, I usually sit behind the computer, not in front of the camera anymore, but behind the computer to continue to answer any questions. And it is then that it is a great opportunity for you to upload images or photos that you would like us to have a look at. Because while we're live, unfortunately, you cannot pop any images into the feed. It's impossible to do so. So as I said, we are talking all about your frequently asked questions. Now, we have our social media manager goes through all of our social media platforms and we look at frequently asked questions. We also have all frequently asked topics as well, and certainly questions that are sent into us on a regular occasion. So that's how the sessions sort of are compiled when we do this type of session. So I've got quite a few questions here that I'm going to bring to life tonight, but I'm going to kick off. We actually had a question already put into our feed, and I'll just bring it up so that I can talk about it. So this has come from Ainsley Dennis. So thank you, Ainsley, for joining our session. So Ainsley has popped an image into our events post, and it's of her kitchen sort of living area. So she has said, this is a panorama shot of my external kitchen wall. I'm wanting to paint it black or green and am unable to decide. My cottage is small and this wall is part of an open kitchen dining living room. Think a modest size square room. I'm also considering whether to extend the colour to the wall of the connecting wall that splits the house. Okay, well, Ainsley, two completely different colour choices, whether you choose to go black or whether you choose to go green. And obviously when we talk about green, there are so many variants, but I'll give you a few colour choices if you like. So if you want to go black, there's a fantastic black that I happen to love, and it is called Trendy. It's a beautiful sort of black if you like, as is, there's another one called All Black. But if you're wanting, because blacks aren't just black, when you start to look at them, they have varying undertones. And I know that earlier on we did a session on having a look at blacks, and you've got blacks that can have, when you start to really have a look at it, you can start to see some of them have more of a slight red undertone. Some can have a slight blue, going into purple, even having more of a warmer sort of brown undertone. But there are some that do have a slight, a slight sort of green undertone. And there's one that I think could work really, really well, which is a colour called Black Night. Now I'm just wondering whether I should, actually, I'll see whether I can. So see whether I can bring it up onto my screen for you, and then I'll share my screen. That way it's probably going to make it just that little bit easier. Now let me just find it for you. And then I guess if you're watching, if you want to come back to me and let me know whether you're preferring a lighter green or whether you like a really, really dark, sort of rich, decadent sort of green. And then I can sort of be a little bit more exact if you like. So I will share my screen and I'll pop myself up into the corner. Hopefully it all works. Beautiful. So there is a black called Black Night. Now I don't know, I'll pop this up here as well, and it's the bottom swatch here, so you can sort of see how it's sort of, the gradation of colour if you like, and you can see it down the bottom here. It is a beautiful, beautiful colour. Now for greens, and as I said before, dependent on the style of green and the depth of green that you're wanting, there is a gorgeous green here. that is called Painted Turtle. Now I'll bring that up onto the screen as well. Let's hope it all works. We'll just go out of that. And then I can show you the beautiful colour that it is. Okay, yep, beautiful. It's a beautiful, deep, rich green. Let's just bring this up. But again, it's divine, and I think using it, looking at the photo that you have sent in, using it, and you've got, I'm just going to describe so that anybody that's watching or listening, the image that has, there's some beautiful white plantation shutters, and there's also some beautiful artworks on the wall with dark sort of black picture frames. So sitting against a green like that would look sensational. So there's a couple of colours to start with. I'll come back on screen. Fantastic. Now there was also another question here as well, which I will bring up in a moment. I've got lots of technology. Okay, so Ainsley is with us. She has said hi. So hi, thank you, Ainsley. I'm hoping that you were able to see those colours. If you're wanting, a different style green or something like that, pop something else into the feed, and I would be very happy to offer some more suggestions for you. Okay, so the next question that I had was from, and I'm just opening it up here so I can see, was from Christine Ewing. So thank you, Christine, for your colour query. And you have written, which white to choose in an old deco flat? And is it better for different strength on skirting and ceiling? Now, that's a really good question. So, and this is something that I love to do. So when we talk about whites, obviously you've got cool whites, warm whites, neutral style whites. So it all depends on what you prefer, but there's lots of things that come into play when we start talking about whites. So things to consider are what you have on your flooring, how much lighting you actually receive within the area or within your dwelling, because they can all impact how your white's going to perform or play within its environment, if you like. Now, I love what you've said about painting your ceiling, walls, doors and trims, etc. in the same colour. I think that it looks fabulous and it works really, really well in areas. So if you've got let's just say a smaller dwelling and you're wanting to make the space look bigger, larger, more open, whatever you like to say, if you paint your ceilings, walls, doors and trims in the same colour, but obviously you're going to use the applicable paint that's fit for the project that you're doing, what it does is it opens the space up. So ordinarily when you've got your wall and then you've got your ceiling and then obviously you might have some cornice, but where your wall meets the ceiling, when you've got different colours, your eye tends to stop where there's the change of colour. And what can happen is, your eyes will sort of look around the room and you can size the room up, so to speak, so you can see that it's a smaller space. Whereas when it's that one colour up and over, the eye continually goes sort of from the wall to the ceiling and it creates the illusion of more space. So it looks fantastic. And what happens when you gloss up, say, your doors and trims, because we always recommend using something like a water-based enamel. So an enamel is really good for doors and trims because it's really hard wearing, and so it's going to be able to withstand any knocks, etc. And especially for things like, if you're vacuuming, you've got young children, they're choosing to play football or soccer inside against the doors, it's going to be able to handle that really, really well. And so when you start to gloss up the doors and trims, the colour slightly intensifies. And the best way for you to be able to see what I'm talking about is next time you go into the hardware store and you're going down to Bunnings and you're looking at the colour chips and you're standing there deliberating over which white are we going to use for our paint to paint our home in. Take the chip with you and then put some clear sticky tape over part of that colour chip. And when you move it around, you'll see how the light changes and how the light bounces off the shiny part, if you like, and your colour on that part where you've got the sticky tape looks slightly intensified. So it's a fantastic trick using that one colour up and over, opens up the space. So I thoroughly recommend that. I've actually done that in my house and I've used a colour, for those that are watching will be able to say it, crisp white, which is our number one white. It is the most beautiful white. And what I really love about it is the fact that it has, so our, how do I put this? Our stock standard white in the can is a color called Brilliant White. And it is a fantastic, bright white. You know, if you're looking at something like Taubmans Endure, in that can, it contains a lot of titanium dioxide for that white to create that beautiful bright white. And it offers exceptional coverage. I'm not just talking about the spread rate, I'm talking about how it covers over colour, etc. that's already existing on walls. So it's going to give you that nice bright white with great coverage. So my point to that is, now that I've just completely gone off track, that's what happens when you're live. So talking about Brilliant White being the stock standard white. So, and then crisp white. So all that goes into our Brilliant White is a little bit of raw umber, and it creates the beautiful, soft, slightly, you could say just a slight, I wouldn't say warmth, but I'm going to say warmth. It gives a beautiful soft glow to the white, and it is a sensational white. Anybody embarking on a colour journey and you're not sure where to start when you're talking about whites, that is the white to begin with. Okay, so back to the colour for your deco flat. Depends on what, I mean, obviously it's going to depend on how much lighting, etc. you have within your space. Lots of things come into play. I'm just going to see whether you are with us and to see whether there's any more questions being put in here. Okay, so you could look at crisp white. You could also look at, if you're wanting something that's slightly warmer, there's a beautiful white called Secret White, which just has a little bit more warmth, but it's going to work extremely well. And the other colour I would also look at is, I'm just thinking, looking and thinking as I'm going. I'm just trying to think of, you know, keeping it slightly warmer being Art Deco, and I'm imagining black, etc. with that, and more saturated colours. So I'm thinking the other colour you could also look at is, you know what, you could even look at Princess Bling. Slightly, just a slight little bit more warmth. The only thing I would say is when you're looking at whites for your interiors, and this is for everybody, get yourself, when you're at your local hardware store and you're going and you're looking at whites, the first thing to do is to buy yourself a sample pot. It's really, really important. And then when you're in, let's just reference Bunnings again, talk to the guys at the paint department, because when our paint comes into store, it comes on large pallets, and in between the layers of paint are what we call pallet liners, so large pieces of cardboard. And what you're going to want to do is to cut a piece of cardboard. You're going to want to have 1 metre by 1 metre square. I know that sounds excessive, but you really want to be able to see how that colour is going to play within your environment. Because when we start talking about colour, and in particular whites can be influenced very easy by their surrounds. So 2 places you want to try your sample. So your 1 metre by 1 metre square of cardboard, you're going to put 3 coats of the sample pot colour onto that. The first coat's going to aid as an undercoat, and then 2 coats of top coat if you like. Once it's dry, the 2 areas are, so here's your wall, here's your floor. Sit it up against the wall here, touching on the floor, and then have a look and see what influences that colour. So for example, if you have warm timber flooring, that can change the look of the colour. So all of a sudden, perhaps if you're using a cooler white, all of a sudden that white can take on a little bit more of a warm sort of glow. And then the other place to test as well is, so here's your wall again, but this time you've got your ceiling. So you're going to put your metre by 1 metre square piece of painted cardboard up to the top there, sitting up against as close to the ceiling as you can get. Then have a look at it under artificial lighting, because depending on whether you have warm or cool lighting will change the look of the colour again. And then most importantly as well, have a look at it under natural lighting. We always recommend when you're looking at your colour, doesn't matter what colour, look at it under natural light because it's going to show you the true form of the color. So that's for interior. Also exterior, you're going to want to look at it under natural light as well so that you can start to see how things like sunlight are going to make your color change. Really, really important. So they're the things that I would thoroughly recommend that you do, and that way you're not going to be disappointed with how the colors going to perform within your environment. So let me see, I've got quite a few more questions here about colors. Okay, so hi Ainsley, thank you. So I'm after a deep decadent green. Okay, so fantastic. So a beautiful deep decadent green. Let me just have a look here. Something that's quite luxurious, I'm thinking. Okay, so there is a really, really deep, beautiful green called Royal Hunter Green. And now there is also another one, that I do. Dark green velvet is sensational. So if I hold that up, actually you can see these really well tonight. That is the color there. It is stunning. I think that is definitely a color I would have a look at. The other one, which is your Royal Hunter Green, it's quite a deep green, but there is another color as well called Night Watch. Now, let me just bear with me while I find it. I may have to look up the name so I can pop it up on the screen. Where are we? And of course, you can't find it when you're live. Any other time, really, really easy. Okay. Where are we? 73. Beautiful. This is a gorgeous colour. I'm sure one of these would... Here we go. That is... Oops. That's called Night Watch. I think that is just the most beautiful colour. Certainly any of those should work really, really well. Definitely trial via sample pot, I think, so that you can see how it's going to look. Okay, if you've got any more questions, Ainsley, please pop them into the feed and I'll be very, very happy to answer them for you. So what else do I have here? Hi Christine, thank you very much for joining our session. Do you have a Barbie pink colour, please? If so, what is it called? Thank you. I think everybody's on the beautiful Barbie pink sort of bandwagon. I guess it depends on what you... There's so many. Like I'd start to look probably down. So you could have a look at something called, there's a beautiful colour called Satin Dull. What else do I have here? I thought, I'm going to do this actually. It's been sort of in the back of my mind. I thought because we do have a fantastic tool called Colorsmith, I thought I'm going to create a Barbie pink collection because I know that we're going to get asked a lot of questions about having a beautiful Barbie pink. So I think so. It depends on whether you're wanting a light or a dark, because if you've seen the movie, which I'm sure everybody has, Barbie has many variations of pink outfits happening. So there is a lovely colour here called Pink Tiara, which is it's the third one down, so that's a more of a softer sort of pink. And I know I'm looking on the screen there, and what is on the screen compared to what I have in front of me looks very different. And the other colour as well, you could have a look at, as I said before, Satin Dull or even Muted Fuchsia as well. I know when I look at that screen there, it tends to look maybe a little bit more purple, but it's not. It's the most beautiful pink. So that'd be a couple that I would start with. Thank you. Let me have a look here as well. Okay, so Hi Ross. Okay, Christine, so I hope that helps before I move on. If not, please pop something else into the feed and I'll be very happy to offer some more suggestions for you. Okay, hi Ross, thank you very much for joining our session. So you are saying that you're looking at a dark teal, if you could please. I certainly can. So let me just, I happen to have a dark teal here called teal. Straight away, straight out teal, very easy to remember there. It is a fabulous teal right down at the bottom there. And it is simply called teal. That's something that I would have a look at. Let me just see if there's anything else that I think that would be worth bringing up to show you as well. I think actually, that's probably going a little bit, no, I think that's going to be the best one. I've got something, but it's a little bit more muted. So I think for a dark teal, I actually think we're on a bit of a winner there. So that would be the one, simply called teal. Okay, I hope that helps. If you're after any further colour suggestions, please pop it into the feed and I'll be very happy to answer some more or offer some more suggestions. Hi Jen, thank you very much for joining our session. So, okay, hi, at the risk of being really boring, never boring. I'm looking for a nice grey to do most of my house in. I want a uniform colour throughout, but happy to go a bit darker in bedroom for warmth. Any greyish colour suggestions that will look fresh but won't date quickly? Painting our whole house is a big job and I don't want to get it wrong. Fantastic. And greyish is very much on trend, so you're certainly not boring by any means. And I think greyish is a fantastic tone to work with because I know that it stands the test of time. So for anybody out there wondering what I'm talking about, when you look at greys, I like to categorise them into 4 categories. So you've got a grey that tends to sit, that has more blue, so it's a blue based. You have a grey that has a red or purple undertone. You also have a grey that has a green undertone, which I refer to as sort of a neutral grey, given that it will work with pretty much any colour, hence that neutral sort of undertone. And then you've got a grey that has a brown undertone, which we call greyish. So a fantastic, easy to work with colour, timeless, and beautiful. So I guess it depends on how much intensity you're wanting. Immediately I think of something like Pebble Bay, and I sort of think of something like Pebble Bay Quarter. Now let me just see if I can bring that up so that I can show you. Where are we? I can find it any other time except for tonight, so I'll have to refer to the index. Okay. Pebble Bay is a really, really good, beautiful colour to begin with, I think so. Here we go. 12. We were close. So here is Pebble Bay. And you can see, so you've got Pebble Bay Quarter up the top, you've got Pebble Bay Half, and then you've got full strength Pebble Bay. Really wonderful, and I'll see whether I can get it up on a larger screen so you can actually see the colour. A really good colour choice and very easy and adaptable. Okay, so let me share my laptop and pop myself up in the corner. Fantastic. That is Pebble Bay Quarter. So again, a fantastic colour. So I can also show you, if my mouse wants to work, there's so much technology happening here. Where are we? Here is Pebble Bay Half. So it's a little bit more intensified. And then you have Pebble Bay, which is the full strength colour. So as you said, if you're wanting to perhaps go a little bit darker in the bedrooms, this is where you could go a little bit darker. So you could use the quarter strength throughout, and then you could introduce, you could trial the half strength or the full strength for your bedroom. And I think it would work really, really well. So that would be a colour that I would certainly suggest. If you're wanting to go, if that's not greige enough for you, you could look at, I'll give you one more suggestion here. Where is it? There is a fabulous colour here called, and this is a little bit more intensified if you like. It's the second one down. It's called Mullaney Mist. It's another lovely timeless greige again. So there's a few options there. If you're after something else, Jen, please pop something else to the feed and I'll be very happy to offer some further suggestions. Thanks. Okay, let me see what else we have here. Okie dokie, so hi Julia, thank you very much for joining our session. So you're saying, hello, we have a small bedroom. To make it feel bigger, is it better to paint all walls a light colour or a dark colour? The colours we are looking at are Sussex or Catalina green. The carpet is dark grey. I guess that when you use cooler colours, you can open up a space. When you use warmer colours, colours tend to, it can sort of close the space in a little bit more. So if you're using a cooler colour, you can tend to open up a space. But to be honest, I personally believe that using a lighter colour, especially if you've got a small room, and as I was talking about earlier on this evening, if you have a small room and you want to make the space feel bigger, using a lighter tone and using that tone on your walls, your ceiling and your doors and trims can tend to open the space up. So that's where you start to use some form of white, if not a very, very, very light tone, because you're not wanting to have something that's too dark that can, have that adverse effect again, closing that space in. So look, colour's very, very personal, and I understand that, and it's entirely, I talk about colour from my understanding, and I suppose look at it on a professional sense of, how it's going to work and play within a space. However, colour is very emotive, and we know that it's a very personal choice. So if the Sussex or the Catalina green really appeals to you, what I would do, as I pointed out earlier on this evening, is to get that large piece of cardboard and trial it via a sample pot and see how it looks and how it feels within the space for you. And that way you're going to have an understanding of whether you think, that's going to be too dark for our space, or I feel that it's going to close in. So that's what I would do. If you choose to go white or lighter, I'd look at, you could even, I'm just thinking whether there's a white that's, let me just think, we have a small bedroom. I guess you've already got a dark, the carpet is dark grey, so I'd be looking at a white that tends to work with the grey, depending, I know you're saying the carpet's a dark grey, is it a brown sort of grey? Does it have a lot of blue in it? I guess because that will help to dictate the tone of colour that you would then choose for your walls. You could look at something like Alpine Snow, which is kind of a neutral white. That would work with a dark grey carpet, and that will also add a little bit of colour, but it will still keep your space relatively open. I hope that helps. Look, I love the two colours that you've recommended. I think they're beautiful, wonderful tones. I would recommend that trialling via a sample pot, and then you're going to be able to see how it works within your space. Certainly, if you've got any more questions, Julia, pop them into the feed and I'll be very happy to answer anything else for you. Okay. Hi, Nicole. Thank you very much for joining our session. What's a white with a cream base? Okay, a white with a cream base, you could have a look at something like Milk Cloud. what else do we have here? Things like ocean pearl. Even going into, let me just see here. I guess it depends on how white you want your white, and how much intensity of colour that you're wanting to have to that white. But you could look at something like Secret White, which is still, it has that creamier undertone. I'm just looking at all my whites here as I flick through the fan deck. What else? Even, yeah, no, that's not. I was going to say Princess Bling, that's slightly creamy, but Secret White, let me see if I can get that up on the big screen so that you can see the colour that I'm talking about. Bear in mind that when you look at a screen, it's not always going to show the true colour because it depends on the pixelations, etc. in your screen. So that is a colour called Secret White. That has that creamy undertone. Having said that though, it's not like it's, let me see if I can pop it up on the screen. It's not like it has a huge, it's the top colour there. It's not like it has a huge amount of colour, so to speak. It's not like it's really, really intense. So that would be a fantastic colour to start with to have a look. Certainly if, Nicole, if you want some more suggestions, just pop something into the feed and I'll be very happy to offer something further. Okay. Hi, Andrew. Thank you very much for joining us. So any suggestions for a coastal white that lifts natural sunlight and also works well in areas with low natural light? Thanks. Crisp white all the way. It is a fabulous white, as I touched on earlier. Excuse me. It works really, really well. I am based on the Sunshine Coast, excuse me, and we are not too far from the beach, and it works fantastic within our space, and it really can be popped with many other tones and colours because it's such a easy and versatile white. Another colour as well that you could have a look at is a colour called Alpine Snow. So I know that when we start talking about, I know that, for example, Hampton's homes have been very much on trend, and we have been asked quite a lot about what type of whites to use within those dwellings. And one of the colours that I recommend quite a lot for that is Alpine Snow, due to the fact that if you're using a Carrara or a sort of a Calcutta marble where you've got that vein running through and the tone of that marble, I know that the Alpine Snow sits really, really well with that. So that would be another colour to have a look at. But certainly Crisp White, it works really well in areas that are drenched in sun, but it also works really, really well in areas that lack natural light. Okay, I hope that helps. If you've got any further questions, please pop them into the feed. I'd be very happy to answer something further for you. Okay, so Julia, more a blue grey. So let me just see where we've gone. Okay, so your carpet, thanks Julia. So your carpet is more of a blue grey. All right, so with that said, I'll give you another. Let me just have a look here. So if we've got a dark blue grey, which I have here. Yeah, I'm just holding the Alpine Snow up against a dark blue grey. They work beautifully together. So that would work really, really well, as would Crisp White, as would, you could also have a look at, for another white suggestion, also have a look at a colour called Tahira White. That's another wonderful soft white that's going to allow you to use that colour on your walls, ceilings, doors and trims with ease, and it's going to open up that space. I hope that helps. Do pop any further questions into the feed and I'll be very happy to answer them. Well, everybody, that certainly has concluded our session this evening. Wow, that was a very quick session. I didn't even get to go through all of the work that I had prepared to go through, so we'll go through that another time. So thank you very much for joining our session, and thank you very much for your wonderful questions. Like I said at the beginning of the session, I will be going off camera, but I will still be sitting behind the computer for the next half an hour or so to answer any further questions. So thank you for joining us. Look forward to seeing you again, same time, same place next week. And until then, everybody stay safe. And as I always say, happy painting. Good evening.